I am a member of a Freewill Baptist church, and I've never seen or heard of any manual or manual of operations. We follow the Bible as well too, and I'm curious: do you think maybe it's possible that if I wrote a manual about the Church of Christ, outlining ministry or what have you, like the Methodist or the Baptist manual that you have, that could be considered a manual as well. So I guess my point is that that's not necessarily followed, or at least it's nothing that I've ever heard of. And the individual who spoke to you on a previous show, she hadn't heard of it either. And I think it's a fair assessment to say that if someone wrote a book about a specific denomination, that it's not necessarily a manual or what that whole denomination practices.
Well, sir, I'm just, if you haven't even seen it, how would you really be in a position to make an assessment? I mean, you're basically telling us, and ignorance not a bad word, when we're talking about, I'm ignorant of astronomy. I'm just as ignorant as a rock. But you're affirming that you don't know, but then yet you're telling us that a fair assessment would be what? So, I don't see how you can even think you can make an assessment when you just said you don't know.
What
Wouldn't
I
that
do
be
know
dangerous?
is, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. What I do know is that being a member of a denomination, I've never seen a manual, and I guess my point is that if a person goes to a specific church, they can't certainly know what was published 60, 70, 80 years ago, especially if a pastor of a church never brings it up. It's not a part of any library in the church.
Wait a minute. So you're making assumptions that you've already told us you don't know anything about. You're saying that because you haven't seen it, therefore. Sir, have you ever seen the Constitution of the United States?
An original copy?
No, any copy. Have you seen the real copy? I'm not talking about just the Declaration of Independence. I'm talking about the Constitution.
No.
Well, you're governed by it, though, aren't you?
Absolutely.
Okay, just because you haven't seen a thing does not mean anything, sir. Most of the people have not seen the Constitution. The Constitution, I'm not talking about the original. I'm talking about, I have 4 or 5 in my library, copies of the Constitution. Most people have not seen them. I take them everywhere I go to make this point. I ask them, have you seen the Constitution? They say, no. I say, you're governed by it. Just because you haven't seen a manual, sir, does not in any way mean that you're not governed by it. And I'm saying tonight that all of these manuals are proof that churches are being governed by these books. And if these books were thrown away, I promise you this, and you just use this one, you wouldn't be a Baptist. Because there is only one Baptist in the New Testament, and his name was John the Baptist. Everybody else after Jesus died, they're Christians in the Church of Christ. And the way you perpetuate a Baptist church is you have a confession of faith that keeps you in line. And your preacher, if he was taught in seminary, I guarantee you he was taught Baptist doctrine and he's adhering to it. Now, and I'd be glad to study with you and him together. If he would be willing to, my projection is he won't even want to think about it. Now, why would that be? Let's just for the sake of argument, why would you think your pastor wouldn't be willing to sit down with me and let's discuss where he's getting this information that keeps you all in line with Freewill Baptist doctrine?
Well, I can't speak for him, and I won't.
I'm not asking you to speak for him.
I'm asking you that far off topic.
I'm asking you a question. What do you think would be the problem? I'm just saying, if you want to tell the community, would you be willing? What would be the problem? What would stand between you and doing that? I'm not asking you, would you want to? I'm not asking you to speak for him.
Are you asking me would I meet with you?
And him. Would you be willing to meet with us 3?
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
All right. Now, let's move to, if he said no, I know we've had other people weigh in and say that the pastors don't want me in the room pointing out the things that they know are going to be pointed out, and they don't want you to hear it. Now, could you think of another reason why he might not? Now, that's my reason. Would you like to make a projection or an assumption?
No.
Okay. Well, I would think that if I were you, I would be suspicious. Why will Johnny Robertson meet with any pastor in town, with any member, but no member in 10 years? Let me just make sure I'm real clear on that. I mean, I've had lots of offers, but they all backed out when it came down to it. No preacher will meet with me and let us examine their manual with the membership.
I can't answer that question. And again,
it's a curious one, though, isn't it?
I won't speak for him, but I guess the point I'm trying to make here is that I could go sit in a room somewhere, and me being obviously not a member of the Church of Christ.
Sir, that's not what's happening. You're not giving a fair assessment. That's not what this is. This is not some one member going sitting in a room somewhere and coming up with a manual. That's not a fair assessment of what we're showing tonight. And
have you done research on the authors of those?
Sir,
and I'm not calling you out.
Yes,
I'm just asking you a question.
That's fine. Do you think I don't mind? I don't mind you asking me a question. Yes, sir. I've done research on all of these churches, spent hundreds, thousands of dollars. We bought a book just lately that cost one book cost $400, so that we can continue to not that we don't know. It's because persons like yourself act now, sir. I'm not trying to offend you, but you're acting like tonight you're being real careful. But you've been spending all your time in this church, and you don't even know if they have a manual or not. So see, you're not being nearly as careful as you're asking me to be. Yes, I'm not even your preacher. I'm not even in that church, and I've investigated your church more than you have. Doesn't that make you curious?
And again, I can, the individual that called you prior and was talking about the Baptist manual, my only point was that, it's a little unfair to her.
No, it's not.
You're also making an assessment that every Freewill Baptist church in the country is preaching from this manual, or in some way use this as a guide.
I did not say that. I didn't say that. That's your words.
The rules and regulations of the church.
I didn't say that.
That's not the case. That's an assessment on your part.
I didn't say that. You're not going to take over the show. I didn't say that. I did not say that. I didn't say they were preaching from that manual.
Okay.
I said you throw away the manual and you'll cease to be the Baptist church. I'm saying you have to stay with these doctrines in order to remain in these churches. That's what I said. The form that you all use makes Freewill Baptist. The form I'm using makes Christians in the Christian church, in the Church of Christ. Excuse me. Now, that's what I'm saying. The reason why I'm a Christian in the Church of Christ and you're a Baptist in the Freewill Baptist Church is because someone's keeping your form going in some fashion or another. Would you like to tell me how they're doing it? Because it's not in this book. You just tell us tonight. How is it Freewill Baptist remain Freewill Baptist?
I think we're getting off topic.
No, sir. We are right on. No, sir.
I don't want you to mute me and just you think I'm taking over your show. My point to you is that you're indeed making an assessment that every church follows this book, and that's not the case.
You don't even know, sir. You already called up tonight professing ignorance, and now you're going to tell us. So which is it? Did you really know in the first place, and you're pretending to be ignorant?
Do you know that every church follows this manual?
I asked you a question. Are you calling up?
Question first.
I've answered all your questions, sir. How about you answer?
No, you haven't. I'm asking you. Do you think that the Freewill Baptists follow this manual and this dictates the rules and regulations?
It's my turn. Did you really call up tonight professing to be ignorant when you really weren't?
I don't understand the question.
Oh, you understand the question. You told us you didn't know about Baptist manuals, Freewill Baptist. You'd never seen one. And then you start telling us all this assessments that you're making, all this information that you have, but you started out saying you didn't know anything about it. Now you're going to start...
I've never seen a manual.
Okay. Have you ever seen a Methodist manual?
No.
All right. Have you gone inside Methodist church, talked to Methodist people, and you hear them, they're using this manual?
I've never been inside of Methodist church.
Okay, I have, and I am answering you tonight. Yes, they use these manuals. They don't bring them out. Do you think they want you to know? They want you, sir, to think they're preaching out of the Bible. But see, you ought to be smart enough to know that there's no Baptist church in the Bible, so you know that much is not Bible. But see, you've been told it doesn't make any difference. Isn't that right?
But you've been into a Methodist church. You're generalizing every Methodist and every Baptist church.
No, you're assuming that. I've been in Methodist churches. I've talked to Methodist pastors. I've talked to Methodist members. Where do you think I got these? I got these from the Methodist members. Yes, sir. I've done my investigation. Just because you're ignorant, sir, doesn't mean I am.
Okay.
I'm willing to sit up here and talk to your preacher, and he won't come. You know why? Because he's got you believing something that's not in this book. Call him and tell him, I'm ready to discuss with the man himself, your own authority. He won't come, I guarantee you.
Okay.
All right, appreciate your call.